Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Discovery channel. I'm so glad you're here. Maybe today felt heavy, a mind full of lists, thoughts swirling like quiet storms behind your eyes. Or maybe you just want to drift, to let go, to understand a little more about the strange, beautiful universe inside your own head. Tonight's journey will be softer than most. We won't travel through galaxies or time. We'll travel inward through memory, emotion, and the slow rhythmic patterns of the mind. Because your brain is a cosmos in itself, a landscape of electrical light and chemical tides, billions of tiny stars flickering in the dark. Each neuron holds a fragment of your story, each connection a spark of you. And when you rest, that galaxy of thought begins to shimmer quietly, tidying itself, balancing, healing. You don't need to force anything, just breathe and let your body remember what peace feels like. Some thoughts heal you while you sleep. As your body drifts into rest, your mind becomes its own caretaker. It revisits moments of tension, replaying them in gentler light. It sorts what to keep, what to let go, what no longer needs to be carried. Dreaming is not just imagination, it's recovery. Your brain rebalances emotion through stories only it can tell. Every strange image, every impossible scene is your subconscious reorganizing reality so that you can wake with lighter thoughts. You are not losing control in dreams. You are healing quietly beneath their surface. Your body can't tell the difference between calm and imagining calm. When you picture yourself safe, warm, and peaceful, your nervous system obeys as if it's real. Heart rate slows, muscles release. The stress hormones that guarded you all day begin to fade. This is why visualizing a soft sky or the sound of rain can actually change your physiology. You are built to respond to imagination. Your mind paints, your body believes. It's not pretending, it's remembering. You have always known how to rest. Memories never truly vanish. Even the ones you think you've forgotten remain somewhere, hidden in quiet networks, sleeping like seeds beneath the soil of the mind. Some return in dreams, others surface through scent or sound. A song, a place, a color. The brain keeps everything, not as punishment, but as protection. It learns what to release slowly, not by deleting, but by dimming the light. That's why forgiveness feels like peace. It's not erasing, it's turning the brightness down until the memory can live without pain. The mind listens to your breath. Every inhale tells your brain, we are alive. Every exhale says, we are safe. Your breathing rhythm is your body's oldest language. Even before thought, before words, your lungs and your heart spoke to each other in quiet code. When you breathe slowly, you remind every cell that it can stop defending, stop preparing, stop bracing. You whisper to your nervous system, there is no danger here. And the mind, hearing that truth, begins to rest. Your emotions are ancient messengers. They are not enemies, not storms to avoid or silence. They are signals, soft, biological truths. Anxiety means something here matters. Sadness means something was loved. Even anger, at its core, means something deserves protection. When you name them gently, the body stops fighting them. And when the body stops fighting, it begins to heal. Tears are chemistry's way of setting you free. Each one contains traces of stress hormones, tiny particles of emotion leaving your bloodstream. When you cry, Your body is physically releasing tension. That's why you feel lighter afterward. Crying is not a weakness. It's a cleaning, a soft rain after a long storm. Even nature cries this way, clouds releasing what they cannot hold. You are allowed to do the same. Your subconscious never sleeps. Even when your mind drifts beyond awareness, your inner self continues listening, feeling, adjusting. It keeps your heart steady, your breathing balanced. It mends tissues, rebuilds memories, and practices safety in the dark. You are not alone, even in unconsciousness. The part of you that dreams is also the part that protects. It hums beneath every heartbeat, a guardian wrapped in silence. Kindness changes your biochemistry. When you think of someone you love, or send a silent wish of peace to a stranger, your vagus nerve lights like a filament of warmth. Your body releases oxytocin. Your heart softens. Your breath lengthens. Compassion isn't an idea. It's a physiological state. It tells your system, we are safe enough to care. And in that safety, rest becomes natural. So tonight, think kindly, not because you must, but because it feels like peace. And as your eyes grow heavier, you may start to sense it, the way your thoughts drift not outward, but inward into something vast and wordless. The psychology of sleep is really the psychology of trust. You are trusting the night to hold you, trusting your mind to untangle what it can, trusting your body to remember what calm feels like, and it will, it always does. Your brain drifts through waves of night like tides in an unseen ocean. Sleep isn't a single state. It's a quiet journey through stages. Light sleep, deep sleep, and REM, each one with its own rhythm, its own purpose. In deep sleep, your body repairs. In REM, your mind restores. The brain moves through these stages like the moon through its phases, each a necessary part of the cycle, each a step toward balance. You don't have to understand how it works. You only have to let it happen. Your brain knows this ritual by heart. A nightly tide returning home. Dreams are the language of the subconscious mind. They speak in metaphors, not sentences, in images, not words. Every strange dream, every odd landscape, every forgotten face is your brain trying to translate emotion into imagery. When you dream of flying, it may mean freedom. When you fall, it may mean release. When you see someone you've lost, it may mean healing. Dreams are memory and meaning intertwining in the dark. Not nonsense, but art created by neurons in need. They are your mind's way of saying what waking language cannot. You have three minds, and they never stop talking. The conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious. The conscious is what you're aware of, the part that plans, lists, decides. The subconscious is quieter, running beneath the thought. It manages heartbeat, digestion, instincts, intuition, and the unconscious. That's the deep ocean where all memory sleeps. It remembers everything you've ever felt, even what you think you've forgotten. Each night, these three parts of you speak to one another, not in words, but in rhythm. That's what dreams are. A council meeting in the dark, a conversation between the many selves that make you whole. Your body stores what your mind cannot. When you hold tension in your shoulders, when your chest feels heavy, when your stomach tightens, that is emotion finding, a place to live. The nervous system remembers what the brain tries to ignore. Stress becomes posture. Grief becomes a weight in the body. But the moment you breathe deeply, you give your body permission to let go. It doesn't need explanation, only permission. Every exhale tells your cells, you're safe now. And slowly, the body believes it. Your thoughts are not you. They are weather passing through your mind. Clouds form and dissolve, but the sky beneath them never disappears. Thoughts, too, are temporary. Patterns of firing neurons, electrical weather that shifts moment to moment. When you remember that, you realize you are not the storm. You are the sky holding it. Every anxious thought, every fleeting worry is just passing weather. Let it move through. You are not your thoughts. You are the space they travel through. The brain is shaped by what it pays attention to. Neurons that fire together, wire together. The more often you think a thought, the easier it becomes to think it again. Worry builds pathways, so does gratitude. Peace, too, can become a habit. The mind is sculpted by focus, and rest is a form of training. When you allow stillness, you're teaching your brain to build calm. Every gentle night is a quiet act of neuroplasticity. Silence is not the absence of thought, it is the alignment of thought. When the mind quiets, it's not because there's nothing inside. It's because everything inside has agreed to rest. Neurons pulse slower, the chatter softens, and harmony replaces motion. That's what peace is, not emptiness, but agreement. Your whole self deciding for this one moment to stop fighting and breathe. The mind heals best in darkness. Light keeps the eyes busy, noise keeps the mind awake. But darkness is medicine for awareness. It's the cue your body waits for, the sign that it's time to rebuild what the day has used up. In darkness, melatonin rises, temperature drops, cells repair. You are not lazy when you rest. You are returning to your natural setting, quiet, dim, balanced, whole. Emotions move through the body like weather, too. Each one has a pattern, a beginning, a rise, a release. Anger burns hot and fast. Sadness moves slow and heavy. Joy expands and diffuses. If you let them flow, they pass. If you block them, they stay. The trick is not to avoid feeling, but to let feelings move. Like wind, they only become storms when trapped. You can only rest in the present. The mind loves to wander into what was or what might be, but the body lives only now. When you bring attention to this breath, this heartbeat, you reunite the two halves of being, the wandering mind and the waiting body. The moment they meet, you feel it, the weight falling away, the stillness settling in. That is presence. That is rest. And so, as you drift deeper, your thoughts will begin to slow, not because they're gone, but because they've remembered how to float. Sleep is not the end of awareness. It's awareness turned inward, returning home. Love is a chemical lullaby. When you feel close to someone, a friend, a memory, a pet asleep beside you, your brain releases oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. Together, they form the neurochemical signature of safety. Your heart rate softens, your body warms, your mind opens like a quiet flower under sunlight. This isn't just poetry, it's biology. Connection is the brain's oldest comfort. That's why loneliness hurts so deeply, and why even imagined kindness can ease it. Love doesn't just live in the heart, it flows through every system, reminding your body that it belongs to something gentle. Your brain doesn't see the world, it predicts it. Every moment, your mind isn't simply observing reality, it's guessing. It builds a model of what it expects to see, hear, and feel, and updates it constantly. That's perception, a dance between imagination and truth. When the world feels heavy, sometimes it's the prediction that's tired, not the reality. Calmness resets that loop. When you breathe deeply or rest your eyes, you give your brain permission to stop predicting and start noticing. That's mindfulness, not silence, not control, just awareness, freed from assumption. The brain's favorite emotion is relief. More than joy, more than excitement, the nervous system craves the moment. Tension ends. That's why exhaling feels so good, why tears can bring peace, why laughter follows release. Relief tells the brain, we've survived, and survival, to the mind, is celebration. Every sigh after a long day, every moment you let your shoulders fall, is a small neurological triumph. Your body thanking you for letting go. Attention is love in its purest form. Where you place your focus, you feed life. The neurons that light up together grow stronger together. This is true for habits, memories, and emotions. What you notice, you nurture. When you notice peace, it expands. When you notice beauty, the brain rewires to find it again. This is neuroplasticity, the quiet, ongoing truth that you are not fixed. Your attention is the brush that paints your inner world, and with every gentle thought, you're already redrawing your own calm. Your subconscious learns the sound of your kindness. The way you speak to yourself matters more than any affirmation. If your inner voice is soft, steady, forgiving, your mind begins to mirror that tone. The amygdala, the part that reacts to fear, listens closely. When it hears compassion, it quiets. When it hears harshness, it prepares for battle. Every kind thought is a signal. The danger is gone. You cannot heal a frightened mind with more fear. You can only whisper safety until it remembers the sound. Your brain treats imagination like experience. When you visualize peace, your neural pathways fire as though it's happening. If you imagine sunlight on your skin, the same sensory regions activate as when sunlight touches you. This is why hope works, because the mind rehearses possibility until it becomes belief. The brain's miracle is not thought itself, but the fact that thought can make the body feel safe again. Even the smallest moment of joy rewires the mind. It doesn't need to be large. A warm cup, a soft laugh, a breath that feels easy. Each small joy releases dopamine, which tells your brain, remember this. And so it does. Neurons carve new grooves around moments of light. The more you notice them, the easier it becomes to find them again. Joy is not luck, it's muscle memory. Your sense of self is a quiet illusion. The voice in your head that says, I, is the product of networks working together. The default mode network, the limbic system, the prefrontal cortex, they weave identity out of memory, emotion, and habit. But beneath it all, there's no solid self, just experience flowing. Thoughts pass, sensations shift, stories change. What remains constant is awareness, the witness of it all, that quiet observer. That's you before the story begins. Gratitude is the mind's softest medicine. When you name what you're thankful for, a quiet room, a beating heart, the chance to rest, your brain's reward centers awaken. the hypothalamus calms, serotonin flows. You can feel it even now, like warmth in your chest that doesn't need to prove anything. Gratitude tells the mind, this moment is enough, and for a while, it truly is. The mind is not a maze to escape. It's a garden, and every thought of peace you plant takes root somewhere deep and invisible, waiting to bloom when you need it most. So rest. You are not broken. You are growing. And growth is not loud. It's quiet, slow, and endlessly kind. Your sense of time is made, not found. There is no clock ticking inside your brain. Moments stretch or shrink depending on how much attention you give them. That's why peaceful moments feel wide, and anxious ones vanish in a blur. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that tracks order and sequence, slows its rhythm when you rest. It stops counting. It begins to drift. This is what calm feels like. Time unmeasured, replaced by presence. When you let go of time, you fall gently back into being. The brain heals in stillness. When you sit quietly, not striving or solving, your brain's default mode network lights up. It's the system that restores balance, that links past and present, that finds coherence in chaos. In quiet, your brain isn't idle. It's integrating, stitching the day's fragments together into a story that makes sense. Silence is medicine. Your mind already knows how to use. All you have to do is give it time to listen to itself. Intuition is memory moving too fast to speak. When you feel a quiet certainty, when something feels right before it's reasoned, that's your brain recognizing patterns from a lifetime of subtle learning. It's experience too quick for words, too quiet for logic. Intuition is not mystery. It's wisdom beneath language. When you trust it, you are honoring the intelligence that lives below thought, a soft pulse of knowing that keeps you safe, even when you don't understand why. The brain doesn't store emotions, it recreates them. When you remember joy, you don't just recall it, you refeel it. The same neural pathways light up again, the same chemicals flow. That's why nostalgia can warm or ache, why remembering kindness can soften anger. You are not replaying the past, you are living it again in miniature. The mind is not a library, it's a theater, and you are both the actor and the audience, learning to choose which plays to keep performing. You cannot think your way out of anxiety. You can only breathe your way through it. Thought adds layers, breath removes them. Anxiety begins in the amygdala, but calms through the body, through breath, through grounded touch, through movement. The body teaches the brain safety faster than logic ever could. That's why walking helps, why soft light helps, why sleep helps. They are all languages of the nervous system that whisper what words cannot. You are safe now. Your mind can hold only one truth at a time, but your heart can hold many. The brain loves clarity. Yes or no, right or wrong, safe or danger. But emotion lives in gradients. You can miss someone and still be at peace. You can be healing and still hurt. You can love and still let go. When you accept both, you're not confused. You're whole. Wholeness feels like contradiction because the mind speaks in lines and the heart speaks in circles. Awareness is not thought. It's the space around thought. Each idea that rises in your mind is like a ripple on a pond. Beneath it lies still water, unchanged, reflective, patient. That stillness is awareness itself. It doesn't argue or analyze. It simply sees. This is the quiet self that remains when everything else has fallen away. The more you rest in that awareness, the less your thoughts can shake you. You realize, I am not my worry. I am the space it passes through. The mind slows to the pace of compassion. When you treat yourself gently, your body stops producing stress hormones. The frontal lobes begin to synchronize. Alpha waves rise and your inner world becomes coherent. That word, coherent, means moving together. It's what the brain feels like when every part of you agrees to rest. You don't have to fix anything to find that. You only have to stop fighting what already wants to heal. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's releasing repetition. Every grudge is a neural loop, a pattern that replays pain to stay alert. Forgiveness breaks the loop. It tells your mind, this memory is safe to store now. You're not excusing the past. You're freeing your neurons to write new stories. Peace begins not in emotion, but in the decision to stop repeating pain. And when you finally rest, your brain becomes luminous. In deep sleep, slow delta waves roll through like tides. Neurons fire in harmony, muscles release, and the self dissolves into pure presence. The brain doesn't sleep because it's tired. It sleeps to remember how to glow. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are simply unfolding, moment by moment, wave by wave, returning to the stillness you came from. Sleep is not escape. It's reunion. Your subconscious is always awake. Even when your conscious mind sleeps, the deeper layers stay alert, listening to your heartbeat, your breathing, the rhythm of the world. It notices patterns, heals wounds, files memories, and balances emotion. It is the quiet caretaker beneath awareness, the unseen current that guides your days without demanding attention. Every instinct you trust, every moment you just know, is your subconscious speaking softly in the language of feeling. It's not mystery, it's memory, practiced for so long it no longer needs words. Creativity blooms when control fades. The more you try to force inspiration, the further it drifts. But when your mind relaxes, in the shower, on a walk, or just before sleep, the prefrontal cortex eases its grip, and the brain's default network begins to wander freely. That's when ideas appear. Quiet, surprising, whole. The subconscious uses rest to assemble what focus cannot. So when you stop chasing answers, your mind finally has the space to hand them to you. Dreams are mirrors that bend the truth to heal it. Each dream is a private world, stitched together from fragments of thought and memory. They do not obey time or reason, because emotion is their architect. The brain dreams to test feelings it could not release while awake. Fear, loss, hope, desire. And in doing so, it finds resolution. That's why dreams can soothe even when they confuse. They are therapy written in symbols, the subconscious whispering, I am still working on this for you. The five senses never truly rest. Even in sleep, your hearing remains alert to sudden change. Your skin still feels the temperature of the air. Your body sways slightly with your heartbeat. Each sense quiets, but none vanish. They form a chorus beneath consciousness, ready to wake you gently or keep you safe. You do not leave the world when you sleep. You simply soften your connection to it. The body never stops listening. It just listens more quietly. Smell is memory's most faithful keeper. A scent can reopen an entire chapter of life. A home you once lived in, a person you loved, a season that still lives in your bones. That's because the olfactory bulb sits beside the hippocampus and amygdala, the brain centers for emotion and memory. No other sense reaches them so directly. That's why comfort has a smell. It's not nostalgia. It's your brain reliving safety. Even one deep breath of something familiar can remind your body that it has survived. Imagination is the mind's rehearsal for possibility. When you picture yourself calm, healthy, or whole, your brain simulates those states as practice. Muscles relax, heart rate steadies, and chemical messengers prepare the body for change. This is not pretending, it's previewing. Your thoughts write small drafts of your future, and the subconscious files them away, ready to bring to life. To imagine peace is to begin creating it. Silence feeds creativity the way darkness feeds sleep. In stillness, the brain's chatter quiets enough for small, distant signals to be heard. That faint idea, that sudden insight, it was always there, just waiting for the noise to settle. This is why rest feels fertile, why boredom breeds ideas, why quiet minds dream the loudest. When you stop filling every moment, the universe inside you begins to speak. Dreaming is proof that the mind is never empty. Even in the deepest night, your neurons are painting worlds of color and meaning. They pull memory and imagination together, mixing truth and fantasy into shapes that only you can see. The fact that you dream means the mind cannot die while it rests. It must create, even in darkness, even in silence. To dream is to remember that life continues quietly, even when you let go of control. Sleep teaches the mind how to hope again. Each morning, when you wake after rest, the brain resets its emotional circuits. It lowers cortisol, raises serotonin, and restores your sense of perspective. That's why everything feels gentler after sleep. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Your brain has decided to start again, to offer you one more quiet chance to see beauty. Every morning is neurological forgiveness, and beneath it all, beneath dreams, breath, and memory, there is awareness. It does not sleep. It only watches, patient, still, endless. The same presence that heard your first breath will hear your last. It is the observer behind every thought, the one who knows you are dreaming and who will remain when the dream is done. The subconscious is not beneath you. It is you, the deeper ocean of the mind, still and luminous, holding everything you've ever been and everything you're still becoming. When you close your eyes tonight, you are not falling away from the world. You are falling back into yourself, the quiet, infinite self that has always known how to rest. Presence is what happens when thought runs out of breath. When you stop chasing what was and what might be, your mind returns to its natural state. Awareness without effort. This isn't emptiness, it's clarity. The default mode network, the part of the brain that spins stories of self, softens its activity. In that softening, you become simple again. Not a name, not a plan, not a memory, just perception, just being. Presence is the silence left behind when worry dissolves. It's what remains when you no longer need to be anywhere else. The brain finds peace in patterns. Every rhythm, the ticking of a clock, the roll of waves, the pulse of music, the rise and fall of your breath, tells your nervous system, we're safe. Predictability is the mind's comfort. That's why you sway to music, why rocking soothes children, why steady footsteps calm anxiety. Your neurons mirror the rhythm they sense. When the world moves gently, so do you. You are a metronome learning to match the slow heartbeat of the earth. Surrender is the nervous system's truest language of safety. It isn't giving up, it's returning to alignment. When you release the constant need to solve and control, your parasympathetic system, the rest and digest response, takes over. The body releases tension, the breath deepens, and the mind stops scanning for danger. The word surrender in psychology simply means the moment the body believes it can stop fighting. Every sigh, every tear, every long exhale is the sound of surrender happening. Trust rewires fear. Each time you face uncertainty and survive, the brain quietly updates its prediction. We can handle this. That's resilience, not the absence of fear, but the rewriting of it. The hippocampus stores the new outcome, and the amygdala softens its alarms. It doesn't happen in a flash. It happens slowly, invisibly, each time you rest instead of run, each time you breathe through a storm instead of fight it. Trust, like peace, is built repetition by repetition. Your mind hears safety through rhythm more than words. That's why lullabies work, why poetry calms, why the ocean feels like a promise kept. Language has tone, and tone is ancient, older than speech, older than thought. Your nervous system learned rhythm before it learned meaning. The brain stem hears cadence and decides how to feel. So even now, as you listen to gentle words, it isn't the message that soothes you. It's the pattern, a quiet reminder of the heartbeat you once heard in the womb. Healing is not linear because time isn't either. The brain stores trauma and peace in networks that can overlap. Sometimes you feel healed, then suddenly the old ache returns. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means another layer of the mind has risen to the surface, asking to be seen. The past is not gone. It's integrated one moment at a time. Each wave of emotion that returns is not relapse. It's recycling. The psyche cleans itself the same way the brain does, by revisiting, rinsing, releasing. Forgiveness begins as a body language. Before it is thought, it is a loosening in the chest, a softening of the jaw, a lowering of the shoulders. The brain watches the body for cues, and when the body relaxes, the mind follows. This is why peace can start before understanding, why stillness can arrive before resolution. Forgiveness isn't logic, it's the nervous system realizing the war is over. Your breath is the bridge between mind and matter. It is the one function you can both control and surrender. It belongs to you, but also breathes itself. Every inhale pulls the outer world inward. Every exhale returns it. When your breath slows, the vagus nerve sings softly through the body, balancing heartbeat and digestion, turning fear into calm. Breath is your built-in lullaby, a rhythm written before language, before thought, before birth. You cannot lose yourself. You can only lose your tension around who you think you are. Identity feels solid, but the brain rebuilds it constantly from memory and habit. When you rest, that scaffolding fades, and you return to something wider, consciousness itself, free of edges or names. It feels like stillness, like floating without direction. It isn't emptiness, it's wholeness rediscovered. Peace is not a state, it's a return. The mind was born from calm, built from stardust and pulse, made to rest between its movements. Every thought, every emotion is just a ripple on the surface of that calm. Beneath it, you are already whole. When you finally stop trying to rest, rest finds you. When you stop reaching for peace, you notice it was waiting. The science of surrender is simple. Everything you release returns to you softer. Every mind is built to mirror others. When you see someone smile, your own neurons echo the shape of it. When you watch someone cry, small signals in your brain light up in sympathy. These are mirror neurons, the biological foundation of empathy. They remind you that you are never truly separate. Your nervous system is tuned to the rhythms of others. Every shared glance, every small kindness is a bridge the mind quietly builds. Connection isn't learned, it's remembered. You were wired for it before you spoke your first word. Loneliness hurts because the brain treats it like physical pain. MRI scans show that the same regions that process injury also respond to isolation. The ache in your chest when you miss someone isn't metaphor, it's chemistry. But just as touch can soothe a wound, even small moments of connection, a conversation, a shared breath, a quiet thought of someone you love, begin to heal that ache. You don't need a crowd. You only need to feel seen. Even thinking of connection tells the body we belong again. The mind cannot distinguish between giving and receiving kindness. When you do something gentle for another, the same reward circuits activate as when you receive warmth yourself. To comfort someone is to comfort yourself. Altruism, scientists say, is a loop, a shared chemistry of calm. It's why compassion feels peaceful. The nervous system was never built for isolation. It finds balance in giving, in recognizing itself reflected in another. The human heart synchronizes when people sit together in silence. In studies, groups who meditate or breathe quietly side by side begin to match rhythms, heartbeat to heartbeat, breath to breath. Their alpha brain waves align, like instruments tuning to the same note. No words are exchanged, but the body knows. We are safe here. This is the quiet intelligence of connection. Not thought, not conversation, just two nervous systems resting in harmony. When you feel peace in someone's presence, it's your biology remembering unity. Your nervous system speaks through touch before it speaks, through language, a hand on a shoulder, a hug that lasts longer than a breath. Pressure against the skin triggers receptors that lower cortisol and release oxytocin. That simple gesture tells the body you can stop bracing. Even your heartbeat responds, slowing slightly in time with theirs. Touch is not luxury, it's communication. A silent way the body says what the mind cannot. I'm here with you. Shared laughter heals faster than solitude. When people laugh together, their brains synchronize, their respiratory patterns align, and stress hormones drop like rain after drought. It doesn't matter what the joke is. What heals is the rhythm, the exhale of release that the body cannot fake. Laughter is the nervous system's way of practicing safety. Every giggle is a rehearsal for joy. Grief is love with nowhere to go. The brain doesn't understand endings. It keeps expecting to find the one who's gone in every familiar pattern. The smell, the sound, the memory. Grief is not an error. It's a continuation. Your mind keeps sending love because it doesn't yet believe it has lost its destination. Over time, that energy finds new places to live. In art, in kindness, in silence. Grief never disappears. It transforms. It becomes the quiet pulse beneath compassion. The sense of self expands when you care for someone else. In empathy, the line between you and them softens. Neural boundaries blur. and the same networks that define identity begin to overlap. That's why love feels so vast. It isn't just emotion, it's perception widening. When you love, your brain briefly remembers unity. The separate self dissolves into something larger and still. Even solitude is shared at the deepest level. When you sit alone in silence, you are breathing the same recycled air that passed through millions of other lungs. The atoms in your body once belonged to countless people, stars, and oceans. You have never drawn a breath that was truly yours alone. Even when you think you are isolated, you are still held within the same invisible field of being. Every inhale connects you to everyone who has ever lived. To belong is not to be surrounded, it is to be seen. The mind finds rest when it no longer needs to perform, to be witnessed without judgment, to exist without defense. This is belonging, and it can happen anywhere. With a friend, with nature, with silence itself. When you feel seen, your nervous system exhales. You return to the truth that has always been waiting. You were never meant to do this alone. You are not a single thought, or a single heartbeat, or a single lifetime. You are the shared pulse of 1,000 unseen connections, the living thread woven quietly through everything that feels. And tonight, as the edges between you and the world fade, you are not disappearing. You are joining the whole again. The human mind was shaped by the rhythm of the earth. Before cities, before clocks, before walls, your ancestors learned time from light. Morning meant movement, twilight meant rest. The circadian rhythm that guides your sleep still listens for sunlight and shadow, even through the glow of screens. When the sun sets, melatonin rises like a tide. Your body remembers the dark as an invitation. Every blink, every yawn is the echo of ancient nightfall. You are older than your schedule. Your rest is written in the turning of the planet. Nature calms because the brain recognizes it as home. In every direction, the natural world offers fractals, patterns that repeat at smaller and smaller scales. Leaves, rivers, coastlines, clouds, their geometry matches the way neurons branch. Your brain feels at ease among them because it was built from the same math. That's why forests walk slow the heartbeat. Why ocean waves steady the breath. You are not visiting nature. You are remembering yourself in it. The sound of water lowers stress hormones. The brain interprets steady, non-threatening noise as proof of safety. Rain, waves, streams. They mask sharp sounds of danger and soothe the amygdala. It's the rhythm of consistency, a quiet promise that nothing sudden is coming. That's why you could fall asleep beside a river or under the hum of distant rain. Water, in motion, tells your ancient self, you can rest, the world is calm. Watching clouds drift resets your internal tempo. Modern life teaches us to move faster than thought, but the nervous system thrives on slowness. When you watch clouds or leaves sway, your eyes follow movements that are smooth, not abrupt. This activates the parasympathetic system, the same one that governs digestion and recovery. Clouds are therapy, written by air, a reminder that not everything meaningful needs to hurry. Plants speak the language of patience. They move too slowly for our eyes to notice, but beneath their stillness, chemical conversations happen endlessly. Roots trade nutrients, leaves adjust to the light, trees share warnings through invisible networks of fungi. Every forest is a mind spread wide. To sit beneath the trees is to sit among quiet thoughts, and even though their language is silent, your body understands. You relax because you are in the presence of things that have mastered stillness. The color green soothes the mind because it promises life. Your eyes evolved to detect green more clearly than any other hue. It was once the sign of water nearby, a fruit of safety. That association still lingers. Looking at green light reduces activity in the limbic system, the part of the brain that governs fear. That's why we decorate rooms with plants, why fields and forests feel like exhale. Your vision knows the color of peace. Birdsong resets the emotional brain. When dawn breaks, birds begin to sing, not just for each other, but as a signal that danger has passed. To early humans, those sounds meant safety. Predators hide when daylight returns. The world is alive and watchful again. That's why morning bird song still lifts mood and lowers anxiety. It is not nostalgia, it is biology, the sound of life continuing, whispering that it's safe to begin another day. The brain loves horizon lines because they offer orientation. When you look at an open landscape, a mountain, a shoreline, the meeting of sea and sky, the visual cortex relaxes. You can finally see what's coming. That clarity tells the nervous system there's no threat nearby. It's why people say, "I need to get away." They don't mean distance, they mean space, the kind the eyes can rest inside. The body becomes what the environment teaches. When you spend time in noise, your heart beats faster. When you spend time in calm, your breath slows to match. The external world and the internal world are mirrors of one another. A quiet space builds a quiet mind. This is not magic, it's regulation. The environment speaks, and the nervous system listens. You are nature remembering itself. The same minerals in mountains don't flow through your bloodstream. The water that falls as rain fills the cells that make your tears. You are not standing on the earth. You are the earth, standing for a moment, breathing, thinking, watching itself spin. And when you return to silence, when your thoughts slow and dissolve, you are not disappearing. You are going home. Nature is not outside you. It is the quiet inside you that never forgot how to rest. Is the mind's natural reset button. When you witness something vast, a mountain at sunrise, the night sky spilling light beyond measure, the quiet of an untouched forest, your brain's default mode network quiets. That's the part that narrates, that says me, mine, my story. For a few seconds, it falls silent, and what replaces it is awe, a calm widening of perception, a sense of belonging to something endless. Scientists call it the small self effect. It isn't about feeling less, it's about feeling part of more. Curiosity is the opposite of fear. When you grow curious about something unknown, the amygdala, your fear center, slows its firing. The brain shifts from defense to discovery. That's why children move toward mystery, and adults often step back from it. Curiosity says, "What if?" Fear says, "What then?" One opens the mind, the other closes it. When you wonder, you remind your body that the unknown is not always danger. Sometimes it is possibility. The brain rewards questions more than answers. When you ask a question, dopamine releases in anticipation of discovery. That spark, that lightness in the chest when something new begins, is the biology of learning. It's why stories captivate, why you lean forward when you don't yet know the ending. The mind was not made for certainty. It was made for unfolding. Answers calm the mind. Questions keep it alive. A single moment of wonder can linger in the body for days. Psychologists call it the afterglow of awe. Blood pressure drops, stress hormones fade, and time perception softens. People who experience awe even briefly report feeling more generous, more connected, more at peace. It's as though the nervous system remembers the scale of the universe and recalibrates itself accordingly. You do not need to chase enlightenment. You only need to notice beauty long enough for it to enter your breathing. The pupil widens when the mind expands. When you see something astonishing, your pupils open to let in more light. It's an old reflex, the brain saying, "This matters. Look closer." Awe literally changes your vision. It lets the world in, and in that widened gaze, you stop analyzing and start absorbing. Wonder begins with the eyes, but ends in the heart. The quiet warmth that says, "I didn't know it could be this beautiful." You cannot experience wonder and judgment at the same time. When you are in awe, the prefrontal cortex, the critic, slows down. The brain stops labeling, comparing, deciding. It just receives. That's why wonder feels so pure. It's perception before analysis, acceptance before understanding. It is the mind remembering how to see without expectation. Awe makes people kinder. In experiments, those who looked at towering trees or stars became more likely to help others afterward. The reason is humility, not humiliation, but perspective. When you realize how vast existence is, you feel no need to stand above anyone. The ego shrinks and compassion flows in. The brain itself rewards this humility with oxytocin, serotonin, and a steady calm. To feel small in a great universe is not defeat, it's grace. Wonder slows time, not literally, but in perception. When the brain encounters something truly new, it lays down more memory per second. The moment feels longer because it is being fully recorded. That's why childhood seemed endless. Why vacations feel longer than routine days. Novelty stretches the sense of time. To seek wonder is to reclaim the slow clock of life. You are wired to seek the miraculous. The mind thrives on meaning, on patterns that connect the seen and unseen. When you gaze at the stars, or listen to thunder, or feel déjà vu, your brain weaves experience into story. It's not superstition, it's architecture. The psyche uses wonder to remind you that you belong to something too vast to name, but close enough to feel. To wonder is to wake up while still dreaming. It is the bridge between the known and the unknown. The moment when logic relaxes and mystery is allowed to exist. In that space, you are not trying to understand. You are simply witnessing, and in that witnessing, you are changed. The universe doesn't ask for your belief. It only asks for your attention, and when you give it, the mind rests, because it finally remembers what it was built to do, to marvel, to imagine, to gently be amazed. Happiness was never meant to be constant. The brain is wired for balance, not bliss. Moments of joy come and go like waves. Their purpose is not to last, but to remind you what's possible. Serotonin rises when you feel content. Dopamine surges when you anticipate reward, and oxytocin blooms in connection. But each fades because your brain needs to make room for the next experience. Happiness is not the state you keep. It's the rhythm you return to, the tide, not the shore. Gratitude changes the chemistry of perception. When you notice what is good, the prefrontal cortex strengthens its connection to the ventral striatum, the brain's reward center. It's not positivity, it's pattern recognition. The mind learns to find balance in what's already there. That's why even simple thanks, a sunrise, a breath, a kind word, can lift the mood. Gratitude teaches your neurons to light up for the ordinary. Over time, the ordinary becomes holy. Peace begins with the body, not the mind. The nervous system must calm before thought can follow. Slow your breath, and the vagus nerve begins to hum. Heart rate slows. Digestion resumes. The mind takes its cue from the body's rhythm, not the other way around. This is why comfort starts with warmth, why safety starts with softness. Peace is not an idea. It is biology learning to rest. Joy prefers quiet places. It doesn't shout. It waits. Joy is the subtle sense that existence itself is enough. It arrives when striving stops, when the noise of wanting grows thin. In that stillness, you feel the faint, familiar pulse of being alive. That's joy's true voice, a whisper, not a roar. Laughter rewires stress. Every giggle, every soft chuckle releases endorphins and oxygenates the blood. It massages the diaphragm, stimulates the vagus nerve, and tells the amygdala to stand down. Laughter is not denial. It's survival. It's how the body remembers lightness after too much weight. Your brain doesn't know the difference between remembering peace and creating it. When you recall a calm moment, a childhood afternoon, a face you loved, the rhythm of the ocean, the same neural pathways activate as if you were reliving it now. Memory and imagination use the same circuits. So, to remember, peace is to rehearse it. To picture safety is to build it again. Happiness spreads through invisible mirrors. When you smile, even gently, mirror neurons reflect that state to others. Their brains release oxytocin in return. The gesture loops back to you, amplified. This is emotional contagion, the physics of empathy. It's why kindness feels good to give, why one calm person can steady a room. You are never feeling alone. You are feeling in chorus. Happiness grows best in low light, not in perfect days, but in gentle ones. When you stop measuring joy against some imagined peak, you start to notice it hiding in ordinary corners. A slow morning, a voice that sounds like home, the way sunlight lands on the floor. True happiness doesn't perform. It hums quietly in the background, waiting for you to listen. You can't chase peace. You can only allow it. Every attempt to grasp happiness tight turns it brittle. But the moment you stop grasping, it breathes again. It was never gone. It was simply waiting for you to stop running. Contentment is the brain's original setting. Before worry, before desire, before ambition, the infant sleeps, breathes, and exists. That baseline calm never disappears. It just gets covered by thought. Happiness isn't something to build. It's something to uncover. Beneath the noise, beneath the motion, your mind still remembers how to rest. So let this be enough. The breath, the heartbeat, the warmth beneath your skin. Every signal of safety is an ancient language. The body still understands. Peace was never something to find. It was something to return to. Happiness was never meant to be constant. The brain doesn't hold joy the way it holds memory or skill. Pleasure chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, rise and fade because they were designed to move, not stay. Their rhythm is what keeps you seeking, learning, growing. Lasting happiness isn't a chemical flood. It's the quiet steadiness that remains when the waves settle. Contentment, not euphoria. Peace, not perfection. You're not meant to live on a peak, but to travel calmly through valleys and sunlight alike. Joy hides inside attention. When you are fully absorbed in a melody, a task, a moment of light, the sense of I disappears. Psychologists call this flow, a state where effort fades and only experience remains. In that surrender, happiness is born. You don't chase it. It happens as a byproduct of presence. That's why the simplest things, a conversation, a brush stroke, a walk, can feel sacred when attention deepens. Happiness isn't in the activity. It's in the absence of distraction. Gratitude changes the architecture of the brain. Each time you pause to notice something good, warmth, safety, kindness, the rhythm of breath, neurons in the prefrontal cortex strengthen their connections to regions that regulate emotion. Repeated often, this practice rewires perception, teaching the brain to scan for what sustains, not what threatens. It's not denial of difficulty. It's recalibration toward balance. Gratitude is the slow remodeling of awareness, turning fear into perspective and perspective into peace. Happiness spreads through invisible networks. When one person smiles sincerely, mirror neurons in those around them activate, subtly mimicking that expression. Oxytocin rises, cortisol drops, and a small wave of calm passes through the group. This is emotional contagion, the nervous system's social harmony. Your joy, however quiet, is never contained. It ripples outward through glance, tone, breath, altering the chemistry of rooms you never meant to change. Happiness is never solitary. It is shared biology. Purpose is the long form of joy. Short bursts of pleasure are sparks, bright, brief, fleeting. Purpose is the fire that warms for a lifetime. When your actions align with meaning, dopamine becomes sustainable. The reward center links not to novelty, but to continuity. That's why helping, creating, and nurturing feel stable. They satisfy the deep brain circuits that evolved to connect effort with life. Purpose is happiness stretched across time. It is joy in motion. Happiness lives in movement, not achievement. When you imagine a future reward, the brain releases dopamine in anticipation, not arrival. That's why achieving a goal feels fleeting. The joy was in the journey, the unfolding, the becoming. Happiness isn't something you reach. It's something you pass through, like light through mist. It doesn't reside at the finish line, but along the path you take to get there. Your brain needs contrast to recognize peace. Without sadness, joy has no definition. Without challenge, rest has no sweetness. Emotions are not enemies. They are partners in balance. The amygdala learns safety through contrast, not absence. To feel deeply is to be fully human. Even sorrow, when felt fully, teaches calm on the other side. Happiness is not the absence of pain. It's the ability to hold both light and shadow and still remain whole. Calm is happiness without speed. In a world addicted to motion, slowness can feel like loss, but the body interprets stillness as triumph, the end of the chase, the proof of survival. When you slow down, blood pressure drops, muscles loosen, and the mind's internal dialogue fades into rhythm. You are not wasting time when you rest. You are synchronizing with the speed of life itself. Happiness is not faster than silence. It is quieter. Self-compassion is happiness turned inward. The brain releases the same soothing chemicals when you speak gently to yourself as when you comfort someone else. Kindness is not indulgence, it's regulation. The vagus nerve, which connects brain and heart, responds to tender self-talk. It lowers stress and steadies breath. Forgiving yourself is not moral weakness, it's physiological repair. Happiness begins where criticism ends. Fulfillment is peace in continuity. Joy is momentary, but fulfillment is woven through time, in patterns, habits, quiet repetitions. The contentment of a well-tended life is not excitement, it's rhythm. It hums beneath the surface, like a heartbeat. You forget you have until you rest and finally hear it. You were not built to chase happiness forever. You were built to experience it, release it, and find it again. A tide that comes and goes, each wave teaching you that even joy needs time to breathe. Meaning is the mind's way of making peace with impermanence. Everything changes, the body, the seasons, even the stars that light our night. But the brain, fragile and brilliant, seeks continuity. So it weaves stories from chaos. It finds patterns in randomness, rhythm in loss, purpose in decay. This instinct isn't denial, it's survival. Meaning turns transience into belonging. It says, you were here, and that mattered. In a universe where everything drifts, meaning is how the human mind holds hands with time. Mortality is not the end of awareness. It is what gives awareness depth. Knowing that life is finite doesn't darken existence, it colors it. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that imagines the future, is also the part that contemplates death. From that tension arises gratitude, a quiet realization that every breath is temporary and therefore sacred. You cannot cling to forever, but you can touch eternity in the present moment. Each inhale, each exhale is both a beginning and an ending. The awareness of death heightens the appreciation of life. Psychologists call this terror management theory, but its essence is simple. When reminded of mortality, people tend to live with more intention. They hold loved ones closer, speak more truthfully, and seek meaning over material. The knowledge of endings does not weaken us. It clarifies us. It peels away what's trivial until only what truly matters remains. Change is not destruction. It is a renewal disguised. Every 7 years, most of the cells in your body are replaced. You are, biologically, a new person again and again. Death and rebirth are not rare events. They happen constantly, quietly, within your skin. Even your thoughts change shape. Neurons rewire, habits dissolve, identities shift like tides. To fear change is to fear your own nature. The self is not a structure, it's a river. Acceptance is not passive. It is the highest form of wisdom. When you stop resisting what is, the mind doesn't give up, it opens. Acceptance frees energy once trapped in denial, turning anxiety into clarity. This calm state activates the insula, the brain region tied to awareness and empathy. To accept is to participate in reality fully, without illusion or avoidance. It is not indifference. It is intimacy with the present. Regret is memory asking for meaning. When you replay the past and feel its ache, the brain isn't punishing you. It's processing unfinished understanding. Regret is the emotional version of learning. It revisits what hurts, so it can file it differently, relabel the memory not as failure, but as wisdom gained. To forgive yourself is to close that neural loop, to say, I have learned enough to let go. The mind finds peace when it stops demanding permanence from a temporary world. Everything the ego clings to, beauty, success, love, even life, is made of motion. To hold on too tightly is to suffer the illusion that stillness can exist in time. But true stillness isn't the absence of change. It's the calm awareness within it. Peace is not in freezing the moment, but in flowing with it, knowing that you and it are made of the same passing light. Letting go is a neurological release, not an emotional defeat. When you consciously release something, a memory, a desire, a fear, the prefrontal cortex sends a signal that lowers amygdala activity. Your body stops preparing for defense. The breath deepens. Blood flow shifts from muscles to organs of rest. Letting go is not weakness. It is the brain's way of exhaling, of saying, I no longer need to carry this. Impermanence gives birth to beauty. If flowers did not wilt, we would not marvel at their bloom. If sunsets did not fade, we would not turn toward them in awe. The mind's longing for eternity is softened by its deep love for the fleeting. Beauty and transience are twins. One gives meaning to the other. You do not end, you transform. The atoms that form your body have already lived in oceans, mountains, stars. When you are gone, they will live again, in rain, in trees, in light. You are not a being that dies. You are a pattern that changes form. The self is temporary. Existence is not. Meaning is not found at the end of the story. It is written in every breath, in every act of attention, in every quiet acceptance of the way things are. The universe doesn't promise permanence. It promises participation, and that is enough. Dreams are the mind's secret laboratory. When the body rests, the brain does not stop. It begins to repair, to reorganize, to quietly rewrite reality. During REM sleep, the limbic system, the center of emotion, glows with activity, while the prefrontal cortex, the seat of logic, grows still. This shift allows emotion to move freely, to find expression through symbol and story. Dreams are the psyche's nightly therapy, a rehearsal for peace, a rebalancing of memory. Each dream, no matter how strange, is a fragment of the self learning to make sense of living. Memory is not a recording. It's a painting that changes with each viewing. Every time you recall something, your brain rewires the memory slightly, adding strokes of new emotion, coloring it with who you are now. This process, called reconsolidation, means that remembering is also rewriting. You are not a static archive of your past. You are a living artist, reshaping your story each time you tell it. Even pain can soften this way, transformed by understanding into something gentler, something true, but no longer sharp. Dreams use emotion as ink. They don't follow reason because emotion writes the script. The hippocampus blends memories, while the amygdala gives them tone. Fear paints in storm, love paints in light, loss paints in endless searching corridors. This is why dreams feel familiar, but ungraspable. Their emotional logic given form. When you wake from one that lingers, it's not the imagery that stays. It's the feeling that your body continues to interpret long after. The subconscious never forgets. It just speaks in metaphor. Every unfinished thought, every unspoken grief finds its way into symbols. Water becomes emotion. Flight becomes freedom. Houses become the mind itself. Rooms of memory, locked and opened as needed. When you dream of falling, your brain is rehearsing trust. When you dream of flying, it is testing the boundaries of fear. You are both the dreamer and the dreamed, the painter and the canvas, the question and the answer. Sleep is the mind's housekeeping ritual. During deep non-REM sleep, the brain flushes waste proteins through the glymphatic system, a slow tide of cerebrospinal fluid washing between neurons. This nightly cleansing reduces inflammation, prevents buildup, and clears the path for memory to settle. Dreams are not distraction. They are healing disguised as story. Sleep is the mind's way of saying, "Let me put things back where they belong." Nightmares are emotional rehearsals for courage. They feel like punishment, but they're preparation. The amygdala tests fear in a controlled theater, allowing the brain to practice resilience without the danger of real-world consequence. Waking from a nightmare is victory, proof that you can return safely from imagined darkness. Even fear dreams serve the same master as peace. Your survival, your adaptation, your healing. Lucid dreaming is the bridge between awareness and imagination. In rare moments, you awaken inside your dream, the conscious and subconscious touching fingertips. Scientists call this hybrid activation, where parts of the prefrontal cortex light up without breaking the dream's fabric. It is a meeting of two worlds, thought and symbol, reason and magic. Those who practice it say it feels like remembering who they are in a place where identity dissolves. The truth is simpler. You are always awake somewhere within your own dream. Memory and imagination share the same neural pathways. The brain doesn't separate what was from what could be. To remember is to imagine backward. To imagine is to remember forward. That's why visualization can heal. Because to the nervous system, imagining peace is almost the same as living it. Every vision of calm you picture before sleep is a small rehearsal for waking. Peace. Forgotten dreams are not lost. They dissolve into intuition. When you wake and the details fade, the lessons remain. Dreams that you can't recall still adjust emotional circuits, still soothe hidden conflicts. You don't need to remember every image for the healing to occur. Just as you don't remember every heartbeat, yet they all keep you alive. The subconscious does its work quietly, asking for no credit, needing only your rest. When you dream, you are both scientist and poet. The mind explores the limits of its own infinity, testing possibilities, blending time and memory, learning, unlearning, rebuilding. Every night, you fall into a theater where the stars are neurons and the story is you. And when you wake, you bring a little of that dream back, a trace of imagination in your thoughts, a softening in your heart, a whisper that says, "You are more than what happens to you. You are what you continue to imagine." So sleep deeply tonight. Let your dreams speak the language of healing. Let your memories rearrange themselves into peace. You are safe inside your own creation, drifting between what is real and what restores. The mind is vast, and tonight you are floating through its quiet, luminous sea. Intuition is the body's way of thinking faster than thought. Long before you form a decision, your nervous system has already begun to choose. It scans the world in patterns: smell, tone, rhythm, memory, and compares them to everything you've ever known. What we call a gut feeling isn't magic. It's pattern recognition made quiet. The vagus nerve connects brain and heart and gut in a single conversation. When you feel a pull, a knowing, a gentle resistance, it's the language of the body translating years of experience into instinct. Intuition is wisdom without words, the mind's oldest dialect. Your body feels truth before your mind does. The amygdala, the brain's sentinel, detect subtle cues before they reach consciousness. A change in tone, a flash of movement, the warmth or coldness in another's expression. You register them first as sensations: tightness in the chest, ease in the breath, a spark of calm or unease. This isn't superstition. It's survival refined into sensitivity. You are always listening through your skin. The quiet mind is the most intelligent one. When the prefrontal cortex relaxes its control, the brain's creative networks begin to speak. Ideas rise like bubbles in still water, unforced, spontaneous, whole. This is why solutions appear in showers, while walking, or just before sleep. Creativity does not respond to pressure. It blooms in permission. When thought loosens, the deeper intelligence beneath it finally has room to breathe. Intuition speaks softly, but persistently. It doesn't argue, it doesn't explain, it waits. The more you ignore it, the quieter you become, and the more you begin to confuse noise for guidance. But when you listen, truly listen, you recognize its rhythm. It feels like peace, not panic. Clarity, not urgency. That is how you know. Real intuition doesn't shout. It whispers in alignment. Creativity is intuition in motion. Each act of art, design, or invention is your subconscious making itself visible. Neuroscientists call this divergent thinking, when the brain moves beyond the obvious, pulling together unrelated ideas to create something new. The same process happens in dreams, in daydreams, in moments of wonder. Every creative act is a conversation between the conscious self that asks and the subconscious self that answers in color, rhythm, and shape. The feeling of flow is the perfect union of intuition and focus. When your skills meet challenge and harmony, the brain releases dopamine, endorphins, and anandamide, a chemical symphony of effortlessness. Self-consciousness dissolves, time stretches. You move, speak, write, or paint as though guided by something deeper than will. In that state, the brain is not guessing, it's remembering what it already knows. Flow is intuition made visible, grace through understanding. Every instinct is a story the subconscious has already told. Your hidden mind runs simulations constantly, testing outcomes, predicting reactions, drawing from a lifetime of memory. When the right path feels obvious, but you can't explain why, it's because your brain already did the math, then handed you only the conclusion. This way. That ease you feel isn't arrogance, it's accuracy born of experience. Trust the simplicity of it. The truth doesn't overcomplicate. The mind's hidden wisdom is collective, not solitary. Intuition isn't just personal history, it's ancestral inheritance. You carry instincts refined through millennia, which faces to trust, which sounds mean safety, which silences mean danger. Even empathy, the ability to feel another's feeling, is a shared intuition, a neural bridge evolved to keep us alive together. Your knowing isn't just yours, it's the memory of everyone who survived long enough for you to exist. Stillness sharpens intuition, like darkness sharpens sight. When you slow down, the noise of habit fades, and subtle signals emerge. You begin to sense the smallest truths, the direction of a conversation, the weight of a decision, the calm behind chaos. Stillness doesn't give you answers. It gives you access. And within that access lies something older than thought, trust. There is an intelligence beneath thought that loves you. It doesn't compete. It doesn't measure. It simply moves toward balance. That pull toward healing, that urge to rest, that small decision that later proves right. These are not accidents. They are the quiet hands of intuition, guiding you home again and again. Intuition is the whisper beneath reason. It is the compass hidden in the heart, the soft light in the dark corridor of choice. And when you learn to listen, truly listen, you realize it was never teaching you how to escape the world, but how to belong to it completely. Time does not move the way you think it does. Your brain does not feel seconds and minutes. It measures change. Moments that are new or emotional stretch wide. Familiar routines fold together like pages in a book. That's why childhood feels long and adulthood feels fast. Novelty slows perception. Repetition compresses it. Time, in truth, is elastic, a fabric woven by attention. When you notice more, you live longer within each moment. The present is the only place the mind can rest. Thought travels constantly, forward into plans, backward into stories. But the body is always now. When your awareness returns to breath, you reunite the wandering mind with the stillness of being. The nervous system listens, the heartbeat steadies, and for a moment, time pauses. This is not escape, it's alignment. The future and the past lose their pull because the present contains both, folded in silence. Memory is not the past. It is the present revisiting itself. Every recollection is a reconstruction. The brain rebuilds what once happened using fragments, emotion, imagination. That means even nostalgia is a living process. You are not remembering an event. You are experiencing the feeling of remembering. This is why memory can heal or hurt, depending on how you tell its story. You are not bound by your past. You are its author, and each retelling reshapes its truth. Anticipation is a form of memory projected forward. The same neural pathways that recall also imagine what is yet to occur. You feel the future in advance because your brain rehearses it, a preview designed for survival. But this rehearsal is double-edged. It can create anxiety or excitement depending on the emotion you feed it. When you fill anticipation with calm, you are teaching your brain to predict safety, not threat. You are training time to become gentle. Presence feels slow because it removes the filter of expectation. When you're truly here, you stop waiting for the next thing to happen. The senses open, colors brighten, sound becomes texture. It's not that the world changes. It's that your mind finally stops editing it. This is mindfulness stripped of mysticism. Simply the act of seeing before labeling, feeling before judging. In that space, awareness and peace become the same thing. Boredom is the mind's doorway to depth. When stimulation fades, the brain begins to wander inward. It revisits half-formed ideas, connects distant memories, imagines what doesn't yet exist. Creativity and self-reflection merge from this quiet hunger. That's why constant distraction dulls intuition. The mind has no space to listen to itself. Be bored is to begin again. To sit in stillness is to open a window into the subconscious sky. The perception of time changes with emotion. Fear speeds it up. Joy slows it down. Grief stops it altogether. Each feeling bends the clock because emotion dictates attention. When you are fully absorbed in love, in awe, in gratitude, seconds expand. That's why peaceful lives feel longer, not because they contain more years, but because they contain more moments that were truly lived. To live in the present is not to forget the past, it's to carry it lightly. Memory is not meant to anchor you, only to inform your direction. You are not your history, you are its continuation. Every breath is a new version of you built from the ashes of every moment before. The present is not separate from the past, it is the past made alive again through awareness. The mind invents clocks, the heart follows cycles. The body knows the rhythm of dawn and dusk, of hunger and fullness, of rest and rising. It doesn't count hours, it feels balance. When you live by the body's rhythm, time softens. Days unfold instead of passing. Seasons become teachers. The world turns, and you turn with it, not chasing time, but belonging to it. Presence is the great equalizer of life. In presence, regret dissolves, anticipation rests, and only experience remains. Every inhale becomes eternity. Every exhale becomes surrender. To live here, in this breath, is to exist outside of time. And in that timelessness, peace finally finds you. Time was never your enemy. It was the instrument that taught you rhythm, how to arrive, how to release, how to return. And as you rest now, you are not escaping time. You are learning how to float within it, weightless, awake, and endlessly free. Peace is not something you find, it's something you allow. The nervous system is built to return to balance the moment you stop interfering. Stress, fear, anger, these are not flaws, just temporary activations meant to protect you. When the danger passes, your body longs to rest, to release, to breathe again. Peace is not learned through control. It happens naturally when the mind stops trying to defend what no longer needs defending. Your emotions are waves, not weather. They rise, peak, and fall in cycles lasting 90 seconds, or less, unless the mind keeps feeding them with thought. This is the secret rhythm of feeling, brief, powerful, cleansing. If you can breathe through 90 seconds without adding story, the wave will pass. The storm will move on. Your awareness remains the calm beneath it. Emotional balance begins in the body, not the mind. Every emotion has a physical signature. Shoulders tensing, stomach tightening, jaw locking. When you relax those muscles, you send new data upward. We're safe now. The mind listens to the body more than the other way around. Peace begins when breath and posture start speaking the language of calm that thought has forgotten. You cannot control your feelings, only your response to them. To resist an emotion strengthens it. To name it gently weakens it. This is emotional labeling, a simple act that lowers activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm system. To say, I feel sad, is not to surrender to sadness, but to hold it safely, to keep it from taking over. Naming is taming, a soft acknowledgement that turns chaos into comprehension. Self-compassion is emotional regulation in disguise. When you meet pain with understanding instead of judgment, the brain releases oxytocin, the same chemical produced by warmth and affection. The heart rate steadies. The mind reopens to logic. This is why gentleness heals faster than punishment. Your body cannot heal from a state of war. It needs softness to rebuild. Balance is not the absence of emotion. It's the dialogue between them. Peace doesn't mean numbness. It means equilibrium, where joy and sadness, excitement and stillness each take their turn. The nervous system thrives in rhythm, not rigidity. That's why the heartbeat alternates, why the breath expands and contracts. Even calm has movement. Peace breathes. The parasympathetic system is your body's built-in sanctuary. When it activates, digestion resumes, blood flow returns to the skin, and the brain begins to release serotonin. You can trigger this state through slow exhalation, gentle touch, or gratitude. It's not a mood, it's a switch, one your body already knows how to flip if you give it the chance. Forgiveness is a nervous system function. Holding resentment keeps the stress response alive. The body cannot distinguish between a memory and a present threat. Each replay reactivates the alarm. To forgive is to signal completion, to tell the body, this is over now. Forgiveness is not moral approval. It's the biology of release. Peace is contagious. Just as stress spreads, so does calm. When you breathe slowly near someone, their breath begins to match yours. Heart rhythms synchronize. Tension unwinds. Your calm becomes an invitation, a silent reminder of safety. Peace multiplies quietly, one nervous system at a time. Resilience is not resistance, it's flexibility. A tree that never bends breaks in the storm. The same is true of the mind, not emotional resilience, is the ability to feel fully and return softly. It's not about staying strong, it's about staying fluid. You adapt, you breathe, you return. And each time you do, the brain learns recovery a little faster. True peace is not the absence of noise, it's the absence of reaction. The world still moves, people still change, storms still come, but the calm mind watches without drowning. It lets life flow through without clinging or fleeing. This is not detachment. It is quiet participation, awareness unafraid of what is. Peace is not a destination, it's the rhythm of return, a gentle remembering that even after every storm, you can come back to stillness. You have always been capable of calm. You were born with it, and every breath you take is your body trying to lead you home to it. The body remembers what the mind forgets. Long after an experience fades from memory, the body keeps its rhythm, a tone of voice, a smell, a pattern of light. They awaken echoes that words no longer reach. This is why healing does not begin in language. It begins in safety. The nervous system must first believe that the danger is gone. Only then does the body release what it has been quietly holding. Healing is not erasing. It's integrating trauma, fragments memory. It breaks time into before and after. Healing stitches those pieces back together, not to forget, but to include them. Every scar is an archive of survival. To heal is to say, this too is part of my story. Not the whole story, but a page that the body can finally read without fear. Rest is your first language. Before thought, before speech, the body learned to recover through stillness. Every cell carries that instruction to repair when the storm passes. Deep rest is not laziness. It is cellular intelligence, the quiet choreography of healing unfolding. In the absence of demand, when you rest, your body is not doing nothing. It is doing everything it was built to do. The brain rewires through repetition, not resolution. Healing does not happen in a single realization. It happens in the quiet practice of returning again and again to safety. Each moment of calm is a vote for a new pattern. Each slow breath teaches your body that peace can last longer this time. Over weeks, over months, neurons begin to learn a new direction toward softness, toward trust, toward life. Your body's first goal is not happiness, it's safety. When you feel anxious, the nervous system isn't broken. It's protecting you with outdated instructions. Healing means updating the system, teaching it that rest is safe again, that quiet isn't danger, that stillness is not the silence before impact. Through time, the body relearns the difference between vigilance and presence, and then happiness finds its own way back. Crying is your body's way of releasing excess energy. Tears are not weakness, they are regulation. Emotional tears contain hormones that lower stress and soothe the heart rate. When you cry, you are literally washing cortisol out of your bloodstream. That is why relief follows sadness, like a tide, because the body knows when the wave is past. Healing is nonlinear because time doesn't flow in one direction inside you. The mind can revisit pain, relive it as vividly as the day it occurred, but that same capacity allows for reverse travel. You can send safety back to the memory. When you recall a wound while grounded and calm, the brain rewrites its association. The past becomes less sharp. It learns, I survived. And in that awareness, the body's timeline softens. Touch is one of the oldest medicines. From infancy, human skin responds to gentle contact by releasing oxytocin and serotonin. Touch says what words cannot. You exist. You are safe here. Even self-touch, a hand on the heart, a palm on the stomach, can trigger the same response. The body believes touch more than thought. In healing, kindness must be physical. The breath is the bridge between conscious and unconscious healing. Every slow exhale signals to the vagus nerve. We can rest now. It lowers blood pressure, slows the heart, and tells ancient survival circuits that there is no threat in this moment. This is not metaphor, it's physiology. Breathing slowly is an act of communication. You are speaking directly to your biology, and it listens in rhythm. Healing requires witnessing, not fixing. When you bring awareness to pain without flinching, you show the wounded part of you that it no longer needs to hide. The mind loves to analyze, to solve, to control, but healing happens when presence replaces analysis. You do not need to understand everything to begin to mend. You only need to stop running. Forgiveness begins in the body. When you forgive, you release the stored readiness to defend. Muscles unclench, the jaw softens, the breath deepens. Forgiveness is not saying it was okay. It's saying I no longer need to carry the weight of it. It's a physical exhale, a body sigh after years of holding tension. Healing feels like quiet, not fireworks. It's the slow return of appetite. The first night you sleep without replaying the memory. The moment your laugh sounds like yourself again. Healing hides in ordinary days, in tiny acts of peace that feel almost unnoticeable until you realize you no longer brace for the past. That is what recovery sounds like. Silence without fear. You are not broken. You are adapting. Everything you call a flaw was once a defense that kept you safe. Your sensitivity, your caution, your detachment, they were clever solutions to impossible moments. Healing is not about destroying those defenses. It's about thanking them and teaching them they're no longer needed. That's how armor becomes skin again. Healing is a remembering, a return to the rhythm you were born with. The slow pulse of peace beneath effort, the quiet intelligence of rest, the soft hum of safety that asks for nothing. It was never gone, only buried beneath survival. And now, as you breathe, as you rest, it's finding its way back through you. Dreams are the mind's way of continuing to think when words are asleep. During REM sleep, your brain's logic centers go quiet, but its emotional and visual regions ignite like stars. The mind begins to tell stories in color and motion, not to entertain, but to integrate. Dreams weave feelings that never found closure, memories that never met meaning. Each image, each face, each impossible moment is the psyche rearranging its own furniture, making space for peace to return. Every dream is a translation. When something in waking life cannot be said directly, the subconscious speaks in metaphor. Falling becomes surrender. Flight becomes freedom. Floods, reunions, forgotten houses. Each one is emotional language written in symbol. Dreams are honest, not literal. They show you how you feel, not what will happen. And when you begin to listen to them softly, you learn that every nightmare was just a frightened part of you, trying to be understood. Consciousness is the universe noticing itself. The same atoms that burn in stars now form your eyes, your mind, your dreams. What you call I is the cosmos folded into awareness. The universe has spent billions of years assembling enough complexity to ask its own questions. And here you are, breathing, wondering, listening. The miracle is not that you are small. The miracle is that you know it, and still you look up. Sleep is not the absence of awareness. It is awareness turned inward. While the senses rest, the brain replays memories, rehearses empathy, and tends to invisible gardens of emotion. Dreaming is not escape. It's repair. Each night, the mind sweeps through its own corridors, sorting what to keep, what to release, what to forgive. Sleep is not leaving the world. It's rejoining it from the inside out. Imagination and consciousness share the same roots. The neural networks that let you picture a dream are the same that let you imagine possibility while awake. When you daydream, you are halfway between worlds, one foot in matter, one in mind. This is the birthplace of art, of healing, of empathy. Every creative act is the waking continuation of a dream that began without your permission. Lucid dreaming is the art of awareness within surrender. In that delicate threshold between sleep and wakefulness, a thought arises. I am dreaming. And in that instant, you become both the artist and the observer. Brain scans show this state bridges. Paradox, logic and imagination awake together. You're conscious within the subconscious, a visitor in your own mind's ocean. Lucid dreaming is not control, it's communion. The mind realizing it has been infinite all along. Dreams often heal what the day hides. You may wake with tears, and not know why. You may dream of people long gone, their presence wordless but kind. The psyche is generous that way. It offers closure in silence, a soft rehearsal for letting go. In the theater of night, the heart practices forgiveness that waking life has not yet learned to speak. Consciousness has no clear edges. There is no line where waking begins and dreaming ends. Every moment of awareness is a wave crest on a vast sea of mind. Even now, as you listen, your brain drifts between states, alpha, theta, delta, each one a shade of serenity. What you call sleep is simply the tide receding inward. What you call awakening is its quiet return. The act of falling asleep is an ancient ritual of trust. Every night, you surrender control of thought, of sight, of certainty, and drift into the unseen. You do this without question, without knowing where you go or how you return. That is faith, pure and wordless. Each night's rest is proof that some part of you believes in peace. You are a dream, dreaming itself. Every thought you've ever had, every image in your mind is the brain imagining what it already is. In this sense, reality and imagination are not opposites, they are reflections, two sides of the same luminous mirror. The world is the dream your senses share, and you are the dreamer who somehow became aware that you were dreaming. The subconscious mind is an artist, not a scientist. It paints meaning in color and emotion, not precision. When it wants to heal, it does so through story. That's why you wake from certain dreams feeling lighter, even if you can't recall the plot. The story doesn't matter. The feeling does. Our dreams cleanse emotion the way rain cleans air. They make tomorrow breathable again. Sleep is the brain's most creative act. It rebuilds memories, repairs cells, restores empathy, and balances mood. It is the great nightly reboot of consciousness. When you sleep, the universe for a few hours returns you to its unthinking peace, a brief reunion with the quiet intelligence from which you came. You are both observer and observed. The one who watches the thoughts is not the thought. The one who dreams is not the dream. You are awareness itself, the still lake beneath every ripple of experience. All else is reflection. All else is movement across your surface. You have never been lost. You have only been watching. In the end, awareness returns to silence, not because it ends, but because it remembers. The same silence that held the stars, that hums beneath heartbeat and wave, receives you now. You are part of that rhythm, never separate, never late. As you close your eyes tonight, you are returning not to sleep, but to origin, to the calm before thought, to the stillness before sound, to the universe before it learned your name. Waking up is a second birth, repeated every day. Before your eyes open, your brain begins to hum, a slow re-entry into light and meaning. Dream fades, form returns, and awareness gently takes shape again. This is not a simple switch. It is an orchestration, circuits reawakening, hormones adjusting, the mind remembering the weight of being. Each morning, consciousness climbs quietly out of infinity and begins again, a soft rebirth into the human world. The first breath of morning resets your entire nervous system. As sunlight touches your eyelids, the body begins a symphony of recalibration. Cortisol rises, not as stress, but as light's invitation to movement. The vagus nerve stirs, heart rate lifts, and the ancient rhythm of wakefulness begins. This process is millions of years old, shared by birds, by trees, by oceans turning toward dawn. To wake is not to begin, it is to rejoin the chorus. Your thoughts upon waking are your mind's weather report. The first few moments of awareness reveal your emotional forecast. If the mind feels cloudy, it's not failure, it's information. Those thoughts are the sediment of yesterday, rising to the surface, asking to be cleared. Don't fight them. Observe them like morning mist, knowing the sun will lift them soon enough. The day doesn't need perfection. It needs permission. The boundary between dream and day is a sacred space. In those few seconds after waking, you are both dreamer and observer, half in the ocean, half on the shore. This is a window of creativity when the subconscious still whispers and logic hasn't yet interrupted. Writers, scientists, and artists have lived for that moment, the half-awake mind where truth feels simple. If you can linger there without rushing to thought, you'll find clarity disguised as calm. Morning light teaches the brain time. The first sunlight on the eye sends messages deep into the hypothalamus, resetting your internal clock, regulating sleep, hormones, and mood. This is why dawn feels peaceful. It's the body finding rhythm with the sky again. You are not separate from the planets turning. You are timed to it, a small pulse in a larger heartbeat. Gentle awakening rewires your emotional tone for the day. The way you wake determines how the mind will interpret the hours ahead. Slow rise, a stretch, a breath. These gestures tell your nervous system, we are safe. Rushing tells it, we are threatened. It listens closely. The world you meet is colored by the tempo of your first thought. Begin softly, and the world softens in reply. Memory reorganizes itself as you wake. During the night, your brain has sifted through the day's moments, deciding which to keep, which to fade. As you emerge into awareness, those new neural pathways solidify. The self you wake as is already slightly new, healed, adjusted, changed. Sleep edits you, then presents you back to the light as a quieter version of who you were. The morning mind is the most honest one. Before the day's momentum begins, your defenses haven't yet risen. What you feel when you first wake is often the truth beneath all pretense. Loneliness, joy, peace, anticipation. It's a clear pulse before thought adds noise. Don't rush past it. It's not weakness. It's awareness in its purest form. Each morning gives you a chance to meet yourself before the world does. Gratitude is the psychology of arrival. When you wake and notice one thing, the breath, the softness of light, the quiet of morning, you anchor yourself in presence. This act releases dopamine, primes the prefrontal cortex for learning, and sets a tone of openness. Gratitude is not optimism, it's orientation. It reminds the mind that you are already home, already breathing, already enough. Waking slowly is a form of meditation. There is no rush to remember who you are. Let your body stretch into identity. Let thought return like birds finding morning air. You are not obligated to be anyone yet. You can be just this, a quiet pulse in sunlight, a consciousness unhurried, a life beginning gently again. You are made for renewal. Every night you dissolve into dream. Every morning you rebuild. Cells repair, neurons rewrite, the psyche begins again. You are not meant to live as a single story, but as a series of awakenings. Each dawn is another chance to learn how to be alive more softly, to walk lighter through the day, to remember that peace is not an ending, it's a rhythm you return to. And as morning unfolds, you carry within you the memory of stars, the silence of sleep, the warmth of thought just beginning to rise. You are consciousness returning from the sea, carrying salt and song and stillness on your skin. This day, this breath is not a repetition. It is a continuation of the universe learning once more how to open its eyes. Wonder is the mind remembering how to see. You were born with it, that wide-eyed silence, that instinctive awe at light and motion and sound. As you grew, your thoughts began to name things, and naming replaced noticing. But wonder never left. It only waits for slowness. Each time you pause long enough to notice, pattern in leaves, the breath of air between sounds, the warmth of your own heartbeat, you are rediscovering the first language you ever spoke. All gratitude is what happens when awareness meets acceptance. It isn't a performance or a list. It's a quiet yes to the present moment. When you whisper, "Thank you," you're not bowing to something outside you. You're aligning with life itself. The brain follows that whisper. Dopamine rises, the body softens, and perception widens. Gratitude is the nervous system saying, "We are safe enough to appreciate." It is peace disguised as perspective. Happiness is not the goal of life. It's its side effect. Joy blooms naturally when attention returns to the simple. A cup of warmth, a window open to rain, the sound of someone breathing beside you. Psychology calls this flow, but the soul calls it being. Happiness is not pursued. It is revealed when pursuit ends. Every emotion is a form of connection, even sorrow, even longing. They are evidence of attachment, proof that you have loved deeply, enough for absence to matter. To feel is not a flaw, it's participation. Each tear, each laugh is the psyche confirming, "I am still here." The simplest things regulate the deepest systems. Sunlight in the morning steadies circadian rhythm. A slow exhale steadies the heart. Kindness steadies the mind. You don't need to master peace. You only need to remember these basics: light, breath, compassion, rest. The human system was designed for balance. It only asks that you stop fighting the current long enough to float. The sense of self is not a wall, it's a bridge. Neuroscience shows that you are not a fixed object but an ongoing pattern of perception, shifting, adapting, reforming. You are less like a stone, more like a river. Every thought, every breath is the continuation of that flow. And when you feel small, remember, a river may seem narrow, but it carves valleys through mountains, one gentle movement at a time. Life is a dialogue between attention and surrender. You notice, you let go, you reach, you release. That rhythm runs through every heartbeat, every inhale and exhale. Peace lives in the balance between the two, in the trust that what leaves will someday return in another form. Gratitude rewrites memory. When you revisit the past with thankfulness instead of blame, the brain reconsolidates that memory differently. What once triggered pain now becomes evidence of growth. Gratitude doesn't change history, it changes chemistry. And slowly, you begin to feel lighter because the past no longer weighs as much. Love is psychology's greatest mystery and its simplest truth. Every bond, every act of care is mirrored in oxytocin, serotonin, and neural synchrony. When you listen deeply, your brain waves literally match the rhythm of another's. We are built for resonance. We are built to belong. Love, in its quiet form, is biology fulfilling its purpose. Connection as survival, kindness as instinct, closeness as healing. You do not need to earn your place in the universe. You already belong to it. As starlight belongs to night, as breath belongs to lungs, existence is permission enough. And in knowing that, you free yourself from the endless task of proving. You were never meant to compete with the world. You were meant to notice it, to join it, to marvel that you are here at all. In the end, peace is not something you achieve. It is what remains when you stop trying to be anything else. When effort quiets, when thought slows, when awareness turns inward like dusk, peace rises on its own, not as a destination, but as recognition. You were always this calm beneath the noise. You were always this still beneath the storm. Wonder and gratitude are the twin lungs of consciousness. One draws in awe, the other exhales acceptance. Together they create the breath of meaning. And with each breath, life renews its promise to be beautiful, to be temporary, to be enough. There is a part of you that has never been afraid. It watched every storm, every heartbreak, every fall, and remained untouched. It is the observer, the still point behind the changing sky of thought. Even when your mind trembles, that awareness stays calm, like the deep ocean beneath restless waves. When you touch that stillness, you realize peace isn't something you create, it's something you return to. It was always waiting beneath the noise. Consciousness is not contained in you. You are contained within it. What you call my mind is a pattern inside a larger field of awareness. Your thoughts, sensations, and feelings are ripples on the same pond, shared by every other being who has ever looked up at the stars. When you feel sudden empathy, when a stranger's emotion moves you, it's because the pond trembles in unison. We are all small waves of one vast stillness, briefly rising, then merging back into the whole. The boundary between you and the universe is only perception. Your body breathes in what trees exhale. You exhale what they need. Light that left a star before Earth existed enters your eyes every night and becomes memory. You are not on the universe. You are of it, a continuation of its rhythm, a moment of its awareness. To feel small beneath the cosmosis, to forget that the cosmos is inside you. 2. Silence is not empty, it's full of connection. When two people sit quietly, their hearts begin to synchronize. Their breathing aligns. Their minds rest in shared awareness. We think of silence as the absence of sound, but psychologically, it is the presence of attention. True silence is not what happens around you. It's what happens within you when everything unnecessary falls away. Your thoughts are visitors, not tenants. The brain generates them endlessly. Ideas, worries, plans, dreams. But you are not any single one of them. When you notice a thought instead of following it, you create space. And in that space, peace has room to sit down beside you. This is mindfulness at its simplest, watching the river without jumping in. Love is consciousness recognizing itself in another form. When you hold someone, you're not just comforting them. You're completing a circuit of awareness. Oxytocin floods the brain, neurons mirror one another, and the illusion of separation dissolves. In that moment, the universe remembers what it feels like to embrace itself. Awareness expands when it rests, not when it strives. The more you chase meaning, the faster it runs. But when you stop seeking, when you simply breathe and listen, understanding arrives quietly. This is why insight so often comes during stillness, in a walk, a shower, a dream. Awareness doesn't respond to demand. It responds to permission. The deepest peace feels like remembering, not discovery. People describe awakening, clarity, healing, but listen closely. They all say it feels like coming home, because that calm is not new. It is ancient. It is the background hum of existence, always there, always patient, waiting for you to notice that you never truly left. To exist is to participate in a grand experiment of consciousness. Your thoughts are the universe testing imagination. Your emotions are its study of empathy. Your life, in all its joys and mistakes, is the cosmos learning itself through experience. There is no wasted moment. Even pain is data, a lesson in depth, a doorway to understanding. You are not here by accident. You are here as exploration made flesh. Death is not the opposite of life. It's the continuation of change. Just as dreams follow waking and silence follows sound, what you call ending is simply transformation. Matter becomes memory. Energy becomes light. Consciousness, perhaps, rejoins the great field of awareness from which it came. Nothing in the universe disappears. It only changes shape. And in that sense, nothing and no one is ever truly lost. You are not separate from the peace you seek. Every spiritual longing, every philosophical question is the mind's way of circling back to its source. When you meditate, pray, breathe, or dream, you're not reaching outward. You're diving inward into the same infinite quiet that holds galaxies, thoughts, and starlight alike. You are already home. You always were. The soul, if it exists, is not a thing. It's a rhythm. It hums through every heartbeat, every act of kindness, every surrender to stillness. It doesn't live somewhere within you. It is you, the formless awareness that watches the world with equal love for shadow and light. It does not need answers. It only needs presence. And in the end, there is no end, only awareness folding into itself like a wave returning to sea. The stars you gaze at are older than memory, but their light is new in your eyes. That's how eternity works, not as forever, but as now, a single endless now, where the universe breathes in your lungs, thinks through your mind, and dreams through your sleep. Let the mind loosen its grip. Let the day dissolve into a softer shape. Let thought become rhythm. Let rhythm become breath. And let breath become light. You have reached the part of the story where the words fade and meaning hums on its own. You are safe. You are seen. You are whole. And now you can rest. Thank you for journeying this far. Sleep deeply, dream kindly, and remember, you are not the thought. You are the light that thinks. Good night.